Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Thotgor here, of course. Wow, it has been a while, hasn't it? I'm not sure how many months, who knows. I've been getting back into ships slowly but surely here over the past few weeks. I've been enjoying some of the new things that have happened in the game since I've been away. We'll probably take a look at some of those in the near future, maybe. I don't know if I'm going to put up... I have no idea what I'm going to do with the YouTube channel as of yet. It'll probably keep going. A lot of things in my personal life have changed, some for the better, most for the worst, and as a result I find myself wanting to create more things, and that is, sort of attributed to today's video, just wanting to put something out there, but on top of that as well, I do feel an obligation to a lot of the people who have remained subscribers over these months. Because quite surprised to find every time I go, just, to check on the channel and see what's happening. Well, the lack of activity, that is. To find that subscribers just haven't ran away in droves. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing, I guess. A testament to some of the content that I've put out, I suppose. So I feel a real sort of obligation to those people who have remained subscribers to put stuff out. Not to disappoint too much those people who have remained subscribers, because understandably so, being gone for many, many months, there's probably a little bit of resentment, maybe. Maybe that's too strong of a word, who knows. But anyway, well, we'll see how the channel goes. I do want to get more content out there, and in fact, I've been grappling with some ideas that maybe would involve expanding, more specifically doing streaming. I've been thinking about that, and I know that we talked about streaming a long time ago, but I've been considering it more. I'm actually going to be moving places shortly, come the beginning of September, and once I get set up in my new place, maybe that's going to become more of a possibility. We'll have to see what the future holds for me. Hopefully it's positive stuff. Anyway, that's my, I guess, spiel about being away. Fairly typical Thotgor style, right? Very, very general. Very general. No specifics. But anyway, we are in the Donskoy. Now, in case you were wondering, Donskoy is still amazing, still fantastic. You probably weren't, you probably know that, and you're probably like, Thotgor, get out of here. You don't know what you're talking about anymore. That's fair. That's fair. But the Donskoy, still amazing. So you can see we're on Two Brothers, and I'm pushing up on the west side with some allies here. We can see on the minimap that the majority of the enemies have actually gone over there to the east, which is pretty interesting. Normally, the battle does happen over here at the west, but since we realized, my team has since realized while I was ranting there, that the enemies are over on the east, we over here on the west are now pushing forward, attempting to get ourselves into a position where we can fire on the enemies from the rear. Now, obviously, some of the enemies do see what we are attempting to do, like this enemy American battleship out there in the distance, so we do need to deal with these players. Now, you can see, typical sort of cruiser play here, and this is an ideal situation, and actually a lot of credit needs to go to my allied battleship players who are up here in front of me, right? These two battleships, I think it's a Grosse Kurfürst and an Iowa, allow me to be back here you know, dishing out my fiery shells onto the enemy battleships while they're up there absorbing some of this damage. I mean, obviously as well, dishing out their own massive amounts of damage, but this is what is allowing me to do this. And it's very, very important for cruiser captains to keep in mind. Oh my god, here I go already, dishing out advice on the game when I'm just getting back into it. This is uncalled for, so take it if you want or not, it doesn't matter. You really do not want to push forward at all when you're in a cruiser, and you know, push forward when there's enemies opposing you. You just can't do it. Now, I was confident that that enemy battleship was going to ram my allied Kurfürst, but in fact, it turns out that the Kurfürst did some shifty maneuvering there at the last minute and avoids the ram. Enemy battleship grounds himself. We get some shots going in here, and hopefully my allies and I will be able to finish the player off. There we go, enemy battleship down. But we do still have some more enemies here off in the distance that we do need to deal with. So we're just going to start continuing to put fire in. And this is something that I find very tricky about cruiser play in World of Warships. Not that there's many other games that offer cruiser play, but anyway, in World of Warships, it's very hard to keep up with the battle, like read the battle accordingly, I suppose, to know whether or not your ship is too far back or if you're too far forward. Now, obviously, there's going to be extremes on that scale where it's obvious that you are just too far back. For example, in this situation, if I was, you know, way back there shooting at beyond my maximum range, or just on the, you know, the cusp of my maximum range there, that would be too far. Too close would obviously be I am up there and my secondaries are engaging. Too close. Too close. So I am just trying to figure out at this point in time, well, maintaining my rate of fire, right, whether or not I'm too far back. Now, obviously, the Kurfürst up there, I do want to support the player, and I'm attempting to support the player as much as I possibly can. We see an enemy destroyer there. We got to do something about this player. I know that the my allied battleship secondaries, though, are going crazy, so I do want to just try and get this enemy battleship on fire, at least start something going on this enemy player here so that I can maybe switch to another target, rack up some more damage, but more importantly, continue to support that Kurfürst. I really wanted the player to survive. Unfortunately, doesn't happen. Now, it was a bit of a stretch to have that player survive, right? The player did push forward, but that push forward really rattled the enemies and did a bunch of damage. And again, it's allowing me back here with the Iowa. The Iowa's with me still back here as well, to just rain death down upon the enemies. We're not doing it at, you know, an incredibly far distance away. We are still within the fight here, so we're trying to keep up our rate of fire and just dish out damage onto the enemy. Now, in the meantime, we did notice on the minimap that the enemy did attempt some maneuvers over there on the eastern side of the map and taking that point, but my allies were quickly able to quash that, and in fact are now defending the point and maybe pushing beyond, because that's really what we would want, right? We'd want to pincer the enemy. But if we do look at the allies we have remaining, we can see that the enemies have more ships than we do. I'm sailing straight at these enemies right now, and I really need to play it a little more careful. So I'm going to try and make a turn here without taking too much damage. It's always hard in a cruiser. You really have to time your turns. Or, you know, are enemies looking at you, and if so, are you turning while they are reloading? Because once you turn, you expose that citadel, you're very vulnerable, and you can be gone in a blink of an eye, and that is what I'm trying to avoid. Managed to avoid some of those torpedoes there, which is great. We are going to make our turn. We can see some shots coming in. Looks like those are from an enemy destroyer, so I'm not too concerned about armor-piercing citadel shots. We are continuing our turn. You can see I've got one enemy battleship on fire. I just lit a second enemy battleship on fire, so this is really what I want, you know, to sort of help accumulate the damage, but also to get these enemy ships gone as quick as we possibly can. Now, we do see a bit of a missed opportunity there with that enemy destroyer in the background. That player was on really low health, and in fact, I think it was that player that was launching the torpedoes at me. So a bit of a missed opportunity not taking some shots off of that player, but I'm fairly intent on this enemy battleship, which is something you do want to be careful about. You don't want to focus too much on one specific target. You'll get tunnel visioned in on that player, and you will find that quickly things have happened around you that you weren't prepared for, and potentially find yourself in a pretty bad situation. So we do have the enemy, it's not a battleship, it's a cruiser. We have the enemy cruiser there off in the distance on fire, which is fantastic. This is what we want. And if you're counting, maybe that's the first time I said fantastic in this video. Like I said, we're easing our way back into things. We don't want to go too crazy just yet. Now, we see that the enemy cruiser there off in the distance has grounded himself. This is great. We are going to start raining in shells. I was contemplating, do I want to switch over to the armor piercing? Yes, I should have switched over to the armor piercing, but I do decide to keep with the HE. I figure, whatever, I have a bunch of battleships here in front of me anyway. I am going to want to maintain my high explosive rounds. At the very least, maybe I can set the player on fire once again and have this player go down quickly. It might work. So we're sailing once again towards the enemy. You can see, getting back to the basics of sailing in circles. Again, bringing it back to timing my turns in between enemy salvos, or, using my my captain ability to make sure that if I am making a turn that no one's actually targeting me, so I know I'm relatively safe while making that turn. Now, the enemy Neptune over there, I do want to get this player gone. The Neptune is an incredibly big threat to me. We also have this enemy Thotgor off in the distance. Of course, the Thotgor just being in a Thotgor. But, that player is a bit of a worry as well, because the player is on full health, and on top of that, the Thotgor is no slouch, right? Again, it's an Thotgor. It can easily set me on fire, burn me down, and accumulate a bit of damage. Now, if you couple that with the Neptune, maybe the Neptune trying to shoot at me, landing some citadels as well, right? Things can go pretty bad very quickly. Now, we have an enemy destroyer, and I am going to take the shots that I have at the enemy destroyer and attempt to take the player down. We can see that the player's on very low health, and if my guns could just reload, it's not looking good. So we're going to switch over to the Thotgor, put some few shots into this player here, and try to get the player gone. Now, if we are looking at the minimap, we can see that the allies around me are myself, and I've got the allied Iowa, and I think there's another allied ship here as well, helping us out in cap, trying to make sure that we can stop this enemy, essentially counterattack, right? Because we're attacking the northern cap here, slowly doing it, and the enemy who was attacking the eastern side has now reversed and is counterattacking against us at their northern cap. And essentially, if we lose this battle up here in the north, we could probably lose the battle, because while this battle is raging on, we can see that we have in fact lost the eastern cap. So not looking so great at this point in time. Again, I really should have switched over to the armor piercing rounds on that Thotgor. I think I could have racked up quite a few citadels fairly easily. Now, I see the enemy Montana there off in the distance. We put a few shots into the player. Hopefully I'm going to set the player on fire, and in fact I do. We have the enemy Neptune closing in, who just took a few hits there from one of my allies. Very low health, so just a few more hits and I should be able to take the player down. Again, you're in a cruiser, you really do want to switch between your ammo types as the situation calls for. And especially on, your higher cruisers, you give a higher caliber guns, much better chance of doing pretty good damage with your armor piercing, racking up citadels. So we put a few more shots into the enemy battleship that's astern to me. We've got the player on fire. You can see one of my allies just took out another enemy ship, which is great. This enemy battleship does seem to be maintaining the fire, so hopefully we can let that fire go for fruition, whatever that word. Let it go for that amount of time and get ourselves some more damage. There we go. We got ourselves a nice Witherer medal, so that's not too bad. I always like getting myself a Witherer medal. Those Witherer flags are amazing. Now, we take some massive damage there from the enemy Montana. No big deal though, because we've been pretty good in hit point conservation here throughout the battle, so we were able to take that damage, and now I'm going to repair most of it, so not too bad. We can see that the Montana has since put out the fire, so we do need to get another fire going on this player, but we can see that those turrets are pointed right at me. Obviously, this player has another salvo on its way, so I'm going to turn out. We saw the player fire. I get a nice shot in there and get some fire going. We managed to avoid that whole salvo from the enemy battleship, which is not too bad at all. And we're going to continue with our high explosive shots in on the enemy Montana. Want to try and set more fires, do more damage, right? Help save my ally Iowa. I need the Iowa up here to survive with me. There's no way that I'm going to be able to take on, more enemy battleships without this Iowa. Now, in the meantime, my allies in the south have counterattacked on the east side and are now once again capping that eastern base. My allied Iowa comes in, takes the finishing shot on the enemy Montana. Battle is over. Victory is ours. Not too bad of a game. I really did have a great time this battle. You know, I didn't do too bad as well. We can see overall I did finish second. My allied, I guess it was in Missouri the whole time, not in Iowa. Whatever. Whatever ship that was. Up there, you know, helped me out the whole time, which is fantastic. We were able to, you know, stop that enemy counterattack and won the battle and won the war there as well. Not too bad. Now, get myself a nice container out of it for the experience earned, right? Oh, it's a super container. Fantastic. Nice sort of welcome back. This wasn't my first battle back, but it was within the first few, I suppose. So there's 1,000 gold for myself. Not too bad at all. So, it was a pretty good battle. Like I say, you know, I hope that I'll get more videos out. We'll see. Obviously, let me know what you guys think in the comments, and obviously most of those comments will be yes, Thotgor, more battles, or more videos right away. I really have been enjoying as well. Like what has brought me back to the game has been these UK battleship missions, the French cruisers, the new operations, the PvE content that they've added. These are the things that have brought me back, and I'm quite happy to see them in game nowadays. Anyway. But anyway, folks, that will be the end of today's video. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Let me know anything else you think as well in the comments below. Love reading those and responding back to them. Hit the old like button if you did like today's video. Hit subscribe if you're not a subscriber. And as always, I do hope you enjoy the rest of your day.